that the disciples were not on a cruise liner. Amen. I think that it's fair for us to assume that every time that they felt a little bit of wave, it went all throughout the boat and it affected everybody on the boat because the waves were buffeted. Amen. I think that as they begin to wrestle with the boat and staying afloat, that they begin to think, where is Jesus now? Where is the one that said he would protect us? Where is the one who told us to get into the boat? Because if you are a father or a parent or a coverer of someone, you don't just send them out into danger. So why would Jesus put us out on this boat? They're probably thinking, knowing that we are getting ready to go into danger, knowing that we're getting ready to have to wrestle all night long with the boat. This brings me to my first point. Just because you may not see Jesus at work does not mean he's not working. Let me say it again. Just because you don't see him at work does not mean that he is not working. The disciples had been toiling with the wind and the waves for hours with no relief. Somebody say no relief. The Bible goes on to say that even during the fourth night of the fourth watch of the night, they were still toiling. Now, research tells us that the fourth watch of the night is somewhere between 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, the disciples were used to waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. This means that they were toiling for a mighty long time. Amen? And after that they were in the boat, torrential waves, wind, and everything going on like that, they were wondering, where is God? But we can't get too mad at them. Because some of us go through stuff, and we don't see God moving, and we question, God, why me? Why would you allow something like this to happen to me? Lord, you know I've been praying for a mighty long time, and obviously you have not heard my prayer. Lord, you know I'm at the church when the door's open. I'm a good tithe payer. I'm nice to everybody. I don't bother anybody. Lord, why me? And then some of us say, I don't know, he's just not listening to me. But just because we cannot see him at work doesn't mean that he is not moving on your behalf. Because sometimes, can I be real? Sometimes when we go through stuff, we don't hear nothing from God. Am I the only one? Sometimes we don't see him moving. Sometimes, did you forget about me? If we had a phone, like, is this thing on? Because we feel like he should move when we want him to move. God, when I'm going through it, I need you to move. You know what happened to me. Why would you allow something like this to impact my life? But in the thickest of the situation, the fourth watch of the night, here comes Jesus walking on the water. After all the hell they went through all night long, here he comes now walking on the water. They were afraid. Somebody say afraid. Why were they afraid? Because they did not recognize him. They thought he was a ghost. Well, we're wondering, we're thinking, well, how can they think that the person that they're with every day is a ghost? I mean, they know this man. I mean, they're with him all the time. How could they not identify him? Which brings me to my second point. You are in an unordinary situation. Stop waiting for God to move in an ordinary way. Let me say that again. You are in an unordinary situation. So stop waiting for God to move in an ordinary way. Here the disciples are in a whirlwind of wind. How many of you have heard the wind outside your house or been outside in the wind the past few weekends? I mean, I'm sitting in a house like, is the house going to pick up and move across the street? The people next door have a nice little swing they swing on in the summertime. That thing has picked up and moved. That's wind. But when we're inside the house with wind, we don't have to really deal with the effects of the wind. But the disciples did not have any covering. They were out there in the wind. Now Jesus is coming walking on the water. They do not identify who he is because he has come to them in another way. before. And because they've never seen him move like this, they don't know who's coming up in there. Because they've never seen him work like this, they don't know who's coming up the water. They are in an unordinary situation, and they are waiting for an ordinary move from Jesus. When we are in an unordinary situation and Jesus begins to move, sometimes we miss the move. Because we're no different than the disciples. We're looking for the same rotation from God, the same deliverance, bring me out at the same time, do it the same way, and put me back on my feet and smile at the same time. And sometimes he has already made a move on your behalf, but you don't see it because he moved in a different way. We got to take Jesus out the box. We talk real good about, I'm stepping out the box. I'm about to be something. I'm about to really put it on him now. I'm going to really show him. I'm going to show people who I am now. But if it's good for you to step out the box, why is it not good for us to take Jesus out the box? Because there's some things that you're going through right now that are not just ordinary. Anybody going through some unordinary stuff? I mean, the stuff you're going through now, you're like, what in the world? I never seen it coming this way. I mean, of course we go through the regular, body racked with pain, not having enough money to pay the bills, people walking away from you, losing your job. That stuff, that's the normal stuff, amen? And what we do is we put it under the same old blanket of, I'm just going through. How you doing? I'm what's going through. What's going on in your life? I'm just dealing with some stuff right now. But what you're doing is you are minimizing what you're going through, which means you are minimizing the way that God can move in your life. Because we're so used to putting up this facade. Now, I'm not saying you got to fall out and roll on the floor and tell everybody your business. That's not wise. But when you're dealing with God and you're dealing with some unusual stuff, you got to wait for him to move in an unusual way because you want him to deliver you in a way that you don't ever have to go back through that again. Sometimes we're just tuned into the same station. And because we're tuned into the same station, we don't hear nothing but that station. Let me give an example.